My colleagues join me from the national capital for more on this big story that we are tracking on CNN News 18. Rupashri joins me from outside Arvind Kejriwal's residence. Nikhil is joining me from outside Manish Sisodia's residence, and also joining me on the broadcast is my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar. Rupashri, I'll come to you first. Does the Aam Aadmi Party seem to be in any sort of a huddle after these scathing charges that have come out of that press conference by the BJP?
Well, discussions are continuously on between various Aam Aadmi Party leaders and also, people who would advise them on what legal strategy to take. But as I have been pointing out since yesterday, and as Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal himself had said in the month of July itself, on 2 occasions he had already said that Sisodia is going to be arrested by the end of August. And that it is now looking very likely that Sisodia may actually be arrested, as he himself has said, over the next 2-3 days, or it may be prolonged for a little while. But the general feeling that I'm gathering from all sources, not just from the Aam Aadmi Party sources, but from all my other sources also, is that it is quite inevitable that Manish Sisodia is going to be arrested. Now, the CBI has not yet arrested Manish Sisodia. The reading for that essentially is that the CBI is trying to bolster its case against Sisodia, is trying to gather more evidence against Sisodia, because remember, Sisodia is just not an ordinary Aam Aadmi Party worker or an MLA. He commands a particular kind of stature, and the CBI, it is for the CBI finally, when it will have to defend that arrest, if it does arrest Manish Sisodia in the court of law, and therefore perhaps the CBI is taking more time in order to gather evidence against Manish Sisodia before it makes any such move. We are also getting to hear that if the CBI so wants, then perhaps the case may also be transferred to the Enforcement Directorate, and then Manish Sisodia could also be called in for questioning or arrested under much more stringent provisions, like those under the PMLA. And if that happens, then the reading essentially is that he may also be spend, not just days or weeks, but even months inside the jail. And that is an eventuality that the Aam Aadmi Party and its government is preparing itself for, and that is something that even Sisodia is bracing himself for, that this is something that is going to happen. It is inevitable, and we might as well get prepared for it. Number one. Number two, is the Aam Aadmi Party in a huddle? We have asked that question an n number of times to Aam Aadmi Party leaders, all the spokespersons, the party workers, everybody. In fact, much before this happened, I had asked that question once to Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson and MLA Saurav Bhardwaj, and his exact reply was, there is nothing to be prepared. We just have to be prepared to go to jail, and we are prepared to go to jail. Okay. And Arvind Kejriwal, in the last session of the Delhi Assembly that just concluded, he had addressed all his MLAs in that on the floor of the House, and he had told that each one of you must be ready to go to jail. He in fact had named a lot of MLAs who were present on the floor of the House that day, including Atishi, and many of them have cases against them. So that is the situation that the Aam Aadmi Party and the government finds itself in. It has no other alternative but to fight back, to try its best to push back against the onslaught of investigative agencies, and the Aam Aadmi Party is doing as it knows best. Now, if you look at Arvind Kejriwal's career, and I have been tracking him for almost 12 years now, the more you push him to the wall, the more he fights back. So that is exactly the form that he is in. Now, you see what Manish Sisodia said, that his arrest is very imminent over the next 2 or 3 days. And immediately you heard you saw the tweet that came out from Arvind Kejriwal, that Manish Sisodia and I are going to travel to Gujarat on Monday and Tuesday. So he is not stopping his work. He is not shying away from traveling to Gujarat to campaign for elections. He is not letting the pressure of the ED raid or the pressure of the CBI raids on Manish Sisodia, or the jailing of his minister Satyendra Jain, to somehow make him stop in his tracks and to look back or to do something else. So he is essentially putting his whole force behind the election campaign in Gujarat. And it is not a small point that I'm making here. This is essentially going to be Arvind Kejriwal's 6th trip to Gujarat, and this is just 20th of August that we are talking about. So that is the kind of seriousness that the Aam Aadmi Party is contesting elections in Gujarat.
Oh, absolutely. And Rupashri, this is the argument that the Aam Aadmi Party is actually sticking with, that it is the BJP who seems to be rattled by Arvind Kejriwal, the man, and hence they are going after his deputy. That is the argument that is Aam Aadmi Party staying with all this while. I'd like to go to Nikhil at the moment. Nikhil, you're standing by from Manish Sisodia's residence. interesting movements that have happened. The fact that just a short while ago, Manish Sisodia had arrived at Arvind Kejriwal's residence in Delhi. They together in Arvind Kejriwal's car had travelled to the Rouse Avenue court. Then they returned. However, it was Arvind Kejriwal coming back to his residence alone without Manish Sisodia. Is Manish Sisodia back home? What is it that you're picking from outside his residence?
Well, Greya, we are currently reporting from outside the residence of Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. So as per the reports, after being acquitted from the court of law from the Rouse Avenue court, and who all have been acquitted, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Gopal and Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. So finally, Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia is back at his residence. These are the visuals we are showing you from outside the place. This is his official residence, which is near the ITO, prominent ITO, and this is the AB17 Mathura Road, where yesterday the raids were being carried out for about 14.5 hours, and then we have seen that how Manish Sisodia came in front of the media, and he actually put forth his pointers as to what the seizures have been made. So far what are the given details is that he is currently inside his residence. Many of the seizures have already been made by the CBI officials, but today as well and yesterday as well, he spoke towards the media personals, and he was clearly telling that all those officials who were present during the time of the raid, they were very well behaved with all the family members of Manish Sisodia. In fact, he was very happy meeting with all those officials of the CBI team. And as per the further details, back-to-back PCs are going on since morning. Aam Aadmi Party is holding many of the PCs. Bharatiya Janata Party on the other side, they are also holding PC. In fact, in a short while from now, we are going to see that the Member of Parliament and from Rajya Sabha, from the Aam Aadmi Party side, Sanjay Singh, is going to address the PC in a short while from now. Then about 4:30 p.m. there is another PC from the BJP side. MP Pravesh Verma, he is going to address the PC. But amid all this, Deputy CM Sisodia has already cleared the air, saying that somewhere or the other he is doubting that in 2 to 4 days CBI might actually arrest him. But the context is larger to this. I would add on to some of the things which Rupa Shri just mentioned. Apart from the mentioned point, there is this larger perspective to it, because if Manish Sisodia, if the Aam Aadmi Party and the Chief Minister Kejriwal, which he has been claiming for long now, that somewhere or the other in a short while from now, few months, if you take time, Sisodia will eventually be arrested. If this happens, then the point is many of the functioning of the Delhi government is going to come to an halt, because 18 of the ministries, in fact prominent ministries including education, PWD, home, finance, and there are other additional charges as well with Deputy CM Manish Sisodia. So the functioning of the overall Delhi government is going to be impacted if he is arrested in the days to come or in the months to come. Apart from it, the expansion plan of the Aam Aadmi Party, the expansion of the footprint of the Aam Aadmi Party across the country, it is also going to be impacted because of the same. Because after Kejriwal, if we talk about the big leader in the Aam Aadmi Party side, in the Aam Aadmi Party camp, it is the qad of the stature of Deputy CM is the biggest after Kejriwal. So many of the functioning clearly is going to be impacted. But so far what we do know is that the FIR has been registered, and not just CBI, in fact the ED officials are also mulling over as to how they can be placed in. If any of the documents they seem there is requirement of the ED, then they will be also pressed in. Back to you, Greya.
All right.